Yes, peeps, man. We're back in the building. We are back in the building. Yeah, it's not the type of video you want to be doing, obviously. But it's a video that I'm doing nonetheless, man. Diogo Jota. Diogo Jota has passed away. Him and his brother Andre. They've sadly passed away due to a car accident. Um, Listen, look, I don't want to get too into that in itself. We did a really good stream on Enza's channel earlier on today, and it was good. It was good, and it was something that I wanted to, what I said, but something I'd say, in these kind of moments, in these kind of situations, of course, the condolences first and foremost goes to the family, because this tragic, incident that's obviously happened. Both sets, in terms of, I don't know if his younger brother, had, any children, any kids, anything, doesn't even really matter. Mother has lost two children, two sons. So there's obviously that side of it. But for me, on days like this, I think it's more about, let's remember Jota. Like let's sit back and remember all the good times. Forget all of the transfer stuff, and bruv, none of that is important today. You know what I mean? None of that is going to be deemed important. Let's remember all of the good things he did for the football club. Let's remember that he was the person who scored Arne Slot's first goal in the Premier League. He was the one. Number 20. Like, certain things are just written, in the stars, and things like that, fortunately and unfortunately. So, I sit here and, if we go back in time a little bit, I sit there and I remember, and I was saying this to the guys on Enza's stream. It's mad when Jota first came into the football club. Let's cast our minds, back to that. When he came to the football club, that, we had Salah, Mane, and Firmino. So we all know that front three, best front three Liverpool have ever had. It was one of the, if not the best in Europe. During that period of time. One of the things that we all used to speak about was, we do need someone else who was better than an Origi, better than a Shaqiri and stuff like that, better than a Minamino, later on, who'd be able to come into the squad and give these guys, a bit of a respite, but also be able to challenge them. Now, when Diogo Jota first come, I don't know if any, like, obviously, I know there's obviously going to be some people, but I don't know if everyone felt, yeah, this is going to be the guy who's going to be able to challenge. Oh, he's from Wolves. We start looking at his goal record and, the usual stuff that we do when, when we sign players and stuff like that. But, from the moment he came in, like, and I said this, like, testament to him to be able to ask questions of that front three at that time. That's the biggest compliment I can kind of give him, because he came in during that period of time. Again, I think he started off on the bench, I believe. I don't think he started the first game, but yeah, I believe, and again, I could be wrong, but either way, he wasn't seen as, you're part of the front three. But once he started coming on, performing well, then he starts, starting a few games there, he's scoring here, scoring there. We get to a point now where either Liverpool need to play four attackers, meaning you can only have two in the midfield, which obviously changes the balance of the team, or one of the guys in the front three have to go or have to be put on the bench for Diogo Jota. And that was Diogo Jota in a nutshell. We think back to some of the goals, that he scored, that we were laughing about it earlier on the stream, like, the goal against Arsenal, the last goal he scored for Liverpool, against Everton. That was Diogo Jota. Jota the Slotter. There was a reason why he had that nickname, is because, injuries aside, we all know, listen, I guess it's a bit like Daniel Sturridge, right? In terms of great player, but, injured all the time and stuff like that. With Diogo Jota, like, this was a player that you just always felt, nah, if this guy stays fit, it is long. It is long. And even if we are looking at the transfer side of things, that was always the thing with Liverpool fans. I don't think any Liverpool fans ever looked at Diogo Jota from this season and said, nah, this guy's a poor player, or this is a guy that we need to sell because we don't think he's good enough. It was never, like, I've never, anyway, I can only speak for myself, but I'm going to assume the general consensus was, it was never to do with his ability. It was always to do with the availability of a Diogo Jota. And again, testament to him. You're so good that we don't want to lose you, but ultimately, football, it's a business. We understand how it works, etc., etc. So, you know, when I'm thinking back to like a Diogo Jota from the time that he came in, I'm sure we signed. And again, people in the chat, people watching this video, let me know. My timeline might be a bit wrong, but I'm sure we signed Thiago just before it, or was it just after it? Can't remember which way around it was, but I just remember thinking Diogo Jota. You know, you're kind of like, yeah, he's alright. You know, nothing special, but of course he's no Mane, Firmino, Salah, you know, kind of thing. And that was the kind of thought process that I had at the time. But like I said, man, over the period of time that he was here, to me, Liverpool's best finisher, even with Salah there, Liverpool's best finisher that we've had since I don't even know Torres. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's probably since Torres kind of thing in terms of natural finisher. Suarez, I guess, as well. But you know, Torres in terms of number 9, ball in the back of the net, anyway, any shape, anyhow, whatever. The guy is like, I don't even know how tall he was, but his leap, one of the best headers of a ball that I've seen in terms of a striker. Anyway, one of the best. He was jumping over guys who were 6 foot whatever plus easily as well. He was making it look so easy. And I think, like I said, man, I like in moments like this, of course, there's going to be sadness, as there should be. You know, we all send our condolences, you know, to the Jota family, you know, his wife, his kids, brother, family, everybody, you know, associated with him, Liverpool Football Club, teammates, and everything like that. But I want to remember the good times, man. Like I generally do. I said this earlier on, like I was thinking about it, and it was like he had this Suarez-esque way that he used to play. Like it's so funny, you know, when you think about it. And guys, I really want you guys to like try and like tune in and lock into it and think back to like some of the goals and, you know, moments that he's kind of had. Even the Arsenal goal, like that he scored, the Everton goal that he scored, you know, his last goal for Liverpool. When I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, some of the play, some of your play was so like it was just Suarez-esque. Like it's got this kind of scattiness to it, but I know that you've got a purpose. I know that you know exactly what it is that you're doing, right? And that's the kind of player that he always reminded me of. But I always looked at him and just thought, God, if you just stay fit, man, like you'd be matching, or not even matching necessarily because Haaland is Haaland, but you'd be close in these goal scoring charts though. Like you'd be up there. We wouldn't even be talking about Alexander Isak because we've got you. We're like, bro, we've got Diogo Jota. Like, yeah, I mean, it's the best finisher outside of Haaland in the Premier League. And I genuinely believe that he was a top finisher. But you know, it is what it is, you know, in that kind of regards. And listen, like I said, man, Diogo Jota, you know, he's been a really good player for Liverpool. You know, I would definitely say that he's been a really good player. He doesn't seem like a player that had enemies, you know, in terms of in the football world. Whether obviously there's going to be some, there's going to be one of two people. That's fine. Life is life. You're not going to please everybody, but you know, in just in a general kind of sense, a general consensus. Again, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking Diogo Jota doesn't seem like a player who had those kind of enemies. It doesn't seem like a player who, you know, had those kind of issues, those kind of problems, you know, with other players in a general sense. You know, he had an absolutely brilliant season in terms of not in terms of maybe goals or output this season, but in terms of what he was able to achieve. You know, winning the Premier League, winning the Nations League, you know, with his country, getting married, you know, which is above all both of those achievements anyway. Then getting married, you know, to a long-term, you know, your long-term partner. And, you know, it's just one of those, man. It's just one of those, man. But like I said, I didn't want to obviously try to be as respectful as humanly possible, you know, and in these situations, you know, all you can do is send condolences. But I wanted to just more remember Diogo Jota. If there's one thing that you guys take away from this video more than anything is remember the good moments. Like remember those of Diogo Jota, the times that he made you happy, the 4-3 against Spurs, you know, you know, those kind of moments that Diogo Jota was able to give us, how important he was when he first even joined us, as I mentioned before, you know, about how he's able to dispel, you know, that front three. And now it was like, is it a front four? Is it someone's got to go from there? Remember when he got injured against Michelin? You know, I was mentioning this before on Enzo's stream, and it was like we were all devastated because we were like, oh my days, like this is the guy that's finally come in. And we really do appreciate, you know, his talents and what he brings, you know, to Liverpool Football Club. And yeah, man, it's that's what I'm going to take away, you know, from all of it. If I can listen, and I'm not trying to really take away anything anyway, because it's not my moment, it's not my place, so to speak. But if I can take something, it is that it's Diogo Jota, for me, was a good player, a good signing. He was worth the money that Liverpool spent on him from Wolves. And I think, he's going to be sadly missed. Ultimately, he's going to be sadly missed by the Liverpool faithful. I've heard quite a few people speak about, potentially retiring jerseys and stuff. Listen, Liverpool will do what they feel is necessary in these kind of situations. I have faith that Liverpool will do the right thing, but again, what is deemed the right thing for one might not be deemed the right thing for another. These are the kind of, and I know this seems like, obviously because it's football related, but these are the kind of conversations you may have with your, with his family. We need to know, not even where their heads at, because we know it's just more about how do you feel, about something like this. It'll be a fantastic, gesture from the football club, but ultimately, I'd like to think that Liverpool would, always have the family in mind in these kind of decisions and stuff like that. And again, I do have faith that Liverpool, that's one thing I'll say about Liverpool, is in these kind of moments, in these kind of situations, Liverpool as a collective, so everybody, everything that's associated with Liverpool will always do the right thing ultimately. So yeah, but yeah, Diogo Jota, man, Jota the slaughter, man. That guy is he's gonna be sorely missed, man. He's gonna be sorely missed. He's generally gonna be sorely missed. Even if he'd got transferred out, regardless, he'd still be like, nah, this is a top player. Like, you know what I mean? It's just injuries are what we're gonna be sadly, kind of remembering him for. But this is why I said I wanted to do this video, because I was like, I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be, thought of like that. I think over the next 24 to 48 hours or whatever it is that people are going to be doing their videos and talking about it and stuff like that, and we see all the posts and things, like, I think that's the one thing I want everyone to just kind of look at, is how good was he? Do you know what I mean? Like, how good really, was he? And listen, man, we try to move on. We try to, live our lives, and we try to take perspectives from, these kind of situations, and we just try to do our best, in every type of situation. And yeah, I think that's kind of the key message here, from me personally. So rest in peace to Diogo Jota, to his brother Andre, condolences to his family. And I just, yeah, I just want to, just really just send out my kind of feelings and, thoughts behind, everything that's just kind of happened, because ultimately he's a player who played for, the club that I support. So yeah, like I say, man, I just want to just send my, that's more where my head is at, really, to be honest with you, is just more thinking about his family and stuff like that. And I think this is a time for togetherness. And like I said, I have every faith that Liverpool will be able to show that as a football club, first and foremost, his teammates, his friends, and outside of football, and all of that kind of stuff, they're all gonna rally together and help the family get through this tough time. So yeah, man, keeping it short, I don't want to go on for too long. I didn't think it really deserved like a whole live video. I didn't really want to do all of that. We spoke on Enzo's channel already anyway, and like I said, that if you guys haven't watched it, make sure you do go and watch it, because it was a really good video, really good conversation, some nice words said by all the guys on the stream, and people in the chat as well. So make sure you guys check that out, and I'll catch you guys soon, man. Peace.